So, this is my Superman cosplay, which I wore at MegaCon the other day, and I'm going to be talking about the upgrades I made to it before I went, and what upgrades I want to make to it in the future to make it 10 times better. So the suit on its own is actually like really good. I believe it was like £300, something like that. And I got it from Sim Cosplay. Now, why I got this one was because I heard it had like, it was the first version that I saw online that did the screen print texture and had like a rubbery emblem and a rubbery urethane belt, and I really like that because a lot of companies do just a leather belt. Now this screen print is actually made from silicon, and a lot of people might know, but for those who don't, silicon is actually really hard to paint on and glue on and everything like that, so it was difficult to try and upgrade any of this color wise. So what I'm going to do now is actually go in depth into the suit and give a nice close up and talk about individual parts in depth to really give an idea of my plans for what I want to do to this suit, including the cape, the emblem, the belt, and the boots, which you can't see at the moment, but I'll get into all that, and also the wig. Okay guys, so this is an in-depth close-up, and what I'm going to talk about first is the emblem. Now, the emblem is a really cool feature of the suit. It's made of urethane rubber and it's stitched nicely on. The edges do come up a little bit, but nobody really notices that at a con. I really have no complaints about it. It's even got the nice like basket weave type texture to match the screen print, which is really cool, and which is what the actual suit has. What I did, the only thing I did to really upgrade this, if you want a little bit, was add some black acrylic mixed with water, and I went over it in a black wash, and then I used some tissue paper to really wipe most of it away and keep it in some areas so it built up into the corners. This made it look much more weathered, because if you look at close-up photos of the suit behind the scenes or even screen grabs, you'll notice that his emblem is never really perfectly clean. It's always a bit battle damaged and grubby from his battles, and I really like that because it brings it into the real world a little bit more. So what I've had to think about is that I actually do not want to keep this emblem. My idea is to actually buy one from a seller on Etsy. I can't remember his name at the moment, but I'll put a photo up of the link, and his one is much more three-dimensional on each yellow and red section, and it's like that in the actual movie. Now, you don't have to do this with this costume because obviously it looks really good and this will do the job. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take this one off in time. I will actually buy that emblem and I will glue it on and then perhaps weather it a little bit, and that will just make me feel a little bit better knowing that there's one more piece to this suit that looks a bit more accurate. So I'm going to talk about the screen print. Now, the screen print is actually probably one of the hardest parts in my journey to try and make this suit more like the movie one and upgrade it. Normally with fabric you can just paint over it. This is silicone screen print. They machine do it, and for people that don't know, nothing sticks to silicone, nothing. It only bonds with itself. And I've tried many ways. A lot of Instagram cosplayers that I've noticed have found a few ways, including Psycho Paint, which is by Smooth On. Now, it's a two-part, it's like a two-part sealant that you can add pigment to and then thin it down and then use a brush and slowly go over these mini lines. Now, the real suit has like turquoise, almost a very light sky blue in between some of these lines here. And I really like that about the suit. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to do that myself, but that is one thing that I want to upgrade in the future. It did look very good at the convention. I will show some photos throughout this video, and it wasn't a problem. It's just one of them things in the back of your mind that you wish you could have upgraded a bit more. It looks beautiful. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. You do not have to change this. It's just something that I notice because, I don't know, let's say I'm a bit of a perfectionist. Now, these are the Superman's little tidy-whities, or pants, or underwear, whatever you want to call them, or trunks even. They are the same as the blue, but just red, obviously. They do have the textured lines, but they're very again, they're very camouflaged into it. You can't notice unless you look really close up. That could be something where you could go in between these little lines with black just to make these lines pop a little more so people can see them. But these are very good. They did the job, and they've got these nice little strappy thingies that go over the belt just to secure it nice. So the belt is actually almost the same process I took with the emblem, which was to take it and actually just use a black acrylic paint wash over it so that it just seeped into some of those little details and giving it more of a grubby, a dirty and used look. This is urethane rubber. It's really nice and sturdy. I might actually think about replacing this one too, just because I've seen some nice, some more accurate versions on the movie, and that people have recreated and put on Etsy. So this might be something I will replace in the future. Now the cape is absolutely beautiful. It's made out of like a really nice flowy felt. Sim Cosplay have actually gone and sewn in the pleats so that you don't have to mess around adjusting it every few minutes at the con. So it keeps that really nice, elegant, sort of royal look, the way it seamlessly just transitions into the suit. The closure is actually a nice Velcro, which slots into here, and then it's absolutely hidden. It's like on this side, if you can see that. And it sits really nicely. It's a bit of a bitch to Velcro it, which is why I recommend getting help for this part. But yeah, a really, really nice cape. And this is the back of the cape. The only thing I did with this is I outlined it with a ballpoint pen, because it's funny, because some of the emblems on the Superman suits throughout the film are flat, and in some shots it's like it's embossed and it's three-dimensional, comes out. Now this one does come out. It's really nice and I like how it pops. But I just thought, okay, a nice easy job. Let's just outline it a little bit, and it did the job. Another thing I would say about the cape, sorry, that this maybe comes down a bit much. That's really not a problem. All you have to do is just add a little bit of Velcro probably here, and then one here and here, because you don't want to be in the way of that zipper, and then that will hold it up nice so it sits like that, because obviously Superman doesn't have his zipper showing throughout the film. But that's just a minor detail. There is some shots of me from behind with the cape on, and it looked like it was just flowing beautifully. So yeah, that's the cape. There is this little strap at the back of the suit which velcros into place. He does have this in the film, and I really like that. So it velcros on both sides. I'm not sure why that's needed, really. It's quite unnecessary, because all I would do is just stitch it to one side and then velcro close it to the other. But another minor detail again. But yeah, anyone has noticed there is these little outlinings in the legs, and you can notice how the chest is quite beefy. That's because there's a muscle suit underneath. I can't I can't pull off Superman unless I have fake muscles underneath. I know that David Cornsmith didn't, but I need them because I'm not that jacked. So it was sort of a last minute build. I'm used to making muscle suits in one bodysuit, but this one was like a separate top and separate bottoms. I didn't add the arms because it was too tight to add any biceps in. I would have liked to have done that, but that's fine. So we have a chest, we have pecs, and we have a few abs. There was some that I didn't need in the end, so instead of ripping them off because the contact cement was so strong, I just cut them out, and it looks kind of like a Teletubby. I'm not gonna lie, but nobody notices that, and it works. The thing I want to talk about with the costume is the fit. Now the fit was kind of a problem. For me, it's nice and tight around the thighs, the arms. Majority of it is tight, although the biggest problem is the knees and downwards. If you look in some of my pictures, you can see that it's quite baggy and it's almost like bunching because it's falling below the knees, and that's kind of an annoying look, but it's something that doesn't bother me too much, because that's just something where you can take it to the tailors and actually get sorted out easily. They just taper that in. So I'm going to do that next time. I'm going to get it tapered so it's a much better fit. What I really wanted to do was actually change the original zippers on the arms. I actually took this to a tailor's beforehand because I thought, okay, maybe if I make these zippers a little bit longer, I could fit maybe some foam into the gauntlets, because they're almost like They're almost like gauntlet sleeves, so I thought, okay, maybe I could give it a go. Except what I asked for, they did completely terribly wrong, and they added like a really light purple zipper. I got my money back. That's another easy change. I'm not the best at sewing, so I'm actually going to take this to the tailors too. Now the boots are actually a pair I got with the suit. You don't have to include these, but I decided to, just because boots in the cosplay world are quite expensive. These ones were only like £40 extra, and I thought they would do the job for now. I'll definitely 100% replace these in time. But the upgrades that I did make to them was to actually use a black wash, just like the other pieces, and go into the little grooves, because there is grim amounts of dirt on the bottom of his boots, which I also really like, because his boots shouldn't realistically be beautifully bright red all the time. Superman tramples through shit just the same as Batman does. And so I thought, fuck it, you know, I'm going to go through all of this and I'm going to muck it up a bit. Now the wig is actually sort of a side activity from the suit, because I knew I didn't want to be blonde man. But as you know, I am naturally blonde, and I just wouldn't be able to justify that to myself and be able to see Superman in the photos if I hadn't wore a wig. Now this one's really nice. It's not super expensive. It was around £90 from Wig is Fashion. Now when you first get it, it looks sort of more like an Elvis wig. And obviously he was created in what, like the 40s or the 50s, so it makes sense that he has that greaser slick look from back in the day. I actually had some help from my girlfriend to trim this a little bit, and this is a lace front, so you have to trim it sort of like zigzag so that it blends in a bit more. Got the little hoop. After it was glued to my head, I took some Got2b hairspray, and I moved it in a nice position, the way he has it in the film, so it's sort of just a little parting, but the majority of it is just slicked back. And I just hairsprayed it, and that kept it in place really nicely. This is synthetic, just for those wondering. And excuse the creepy face on the mannequin, like, this is fucking shocking, I must say. Like, if anyone who's noticed, like, he lost his pupils at some point, but we move. It came quite curly. I know his hair is very wavy, so I was happy about that. I didn't really have to change much of the texture. So that's everything I wanted to go through, all the close-ups of all the details of the costume and everything I want to change about it. If you liked watching this, head over to my Instagram, because that's pretty much where I post everything about what I'm working on. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this. Till next time.